Hi, this is Jeff Blauette, technical agronomist with Cooperative Farmers Elevator. And on this week's Field Friday segment, I thought we'd kind of touch on something we've been working on in research plots here the last number of years. But we've got several different planting dates we've played with, trying to see once if this early planting is gaining us anything. And, it's kind of one of the newer agronomic practices we've been playing with. And so far in the data we've played the last number of years, it's played out where the earlier planting has been better. And we're doing it again this year, so we've got another data point here coming. But so I got a couple pictures here of what the plants look like. So if you look at these pictures, this is the earlier planting date. This year we ended up planting it the 26th of April. You can kind of see the amount of pods that are on these plants, and then this is the fourth node down, which is kind of an indicator as far as growth stage, but you can see the size and the development of those pods. Now I've got a couple of pictures of the later planting date this year, which is May 16, so about 3 weeks later. Same, basically side by side, 30 feet apart, same population. Same variety, just different planting date is what you're looking at here. You can kind of see there's less pod development in that fourth node, and there are just less pods in general on that plant yet. I would guess, based on the growth stage, it's probably 10 days behind. We planted it about 20 days later, but as far as growth stage, it's probably maybe going to be somewhere in a week to 10 days later when it gets to maturity would be my guess. So it looks like the early planting is going to be a lot better. It's got a lot more pods on it. It's not going to be as graphic as it shows. The other plants will have pods similar to that here in probably a week to 10 days, but it does kind of give you an indication that even though it's the same maturity, the old discussion was that soybeans are daylight sensitive and they start flowering, they start doing stuff once they start realizing that the days are getting shorter. But that's really only a small factor. You can see planting date does have a big influence on how that plant develops in its stage of growth. So just kind of an interesting thing. We had some beans, and the one discussion on early planting beans is what happens if we get them frozen. And the last couple of years we've had some frost around the time the beans were starting to come up, the early planting. It really hasn't bothered us. It didn't bother us in plots this year. We did have some fields though that we had some guys planting in that same window, and we did have some beans that did get frosted off, and we did have to replant a few. So there is some risk, and with every risk there's reward, and vice versa. So it's just another discussion. It doesn't fit for everybody, but in some cases, like this year, the soils were not warming up, and it just felt better to go out and plant beans for a few days before we got started with corn, because we know when that corn goes into that cool soil, we don't get the even emergence we'd like to have. Every year is different, but it is something that we've seen some return on, so it would be one thing to consider. So just thought I'd show some examples of that, something we're working on. We've been working on. You guys have maybe seen some of our data in the past, but we're continuing that work. So with that, that's this week's Field Friday segment, and we'll see you next week.